All right, guys, we're here with Joe Kremkow from the Partzilla Team PRMX Kawasaki, and we got a 24 KX450. Now, some of you guys out there, if you're watching the broadcast on Saturday nights, there's not too many 24 KX450s out there because they did come a little bit late, not a lot of development underneath them. So Joe and I have been discussing Cade's bike. He is the mechanic for Cade Clason, of course. Cade's been doing really good so far. I mean, we're here early third round, and he has making main events, which is very hard to do, being, I guess, a privateer team. So
yeah, privately owned team. Julian is the owner of PRMX. Partzilla is our title sponsor, and like you said, the bikes came late. We didn't get a 24 until December 1st, really. That's when Cade started riding the bike, and this is the first race engine we have.
And so for you guys out there, when you guys want to do development, most of the time you guys have some notes already, you got a base already laid out. This is brand new, so everything starts back east and start development back there.
Yeah, the only thing that carried over was our seat preference with Cade running a bump. We had forks from last year that we started as a base, and we just improved from there. But shock's brand new, motor's brand new, and exhaust. The clutch is the same. We did go to a Hinson clutch this year, the 2019 design, a little bit smaller basket. But besides that, like you said, everything's brand new. All
right, so give us an overview. Obviously, we're going to talk about Cade and see if he's picky on anything about his bike. So we'll start up front. Obviously, we have Luxon clamps. Are we on stock offset? Talk about the suspension a little bit.
Yeah, so the Luxon clamps were a stock 23 offset. Cade decided this year he wanted to run a riser. It's something we tested last year and weren't sure of, and then we committed to it this year. Tim at TCD has been doing our suspension for, I want to say, 3 seasons now. We started in the summer of 22. Tim's been awesome, comes down to SOB where we train, test and development, anything Cade wants to try. Cade's pretty straight to the point with what he wants.
Yep.
So Tim actually has to kind of pick his brain of let's try making it better and see if it's better or worse, just to turn every stone over.
All right, so what is Cade more picky about, his engine setup or his suspension setup?
I'd say it's kind of in the middle.
Okay.
You know, obviously he doesn't like using the clutch, so he wants his power from his throttle.
Okay.
Wants to control it that way. He wants a motor that has the power delivery he's searching for, but he also wants suspension where he likes it. I'd say if one's off, the whole bike's off for him, and it's a good, or well, not a good day, but.
So for you guys out there watching at home, you guys know 24 KX450, not a lot of bottom end power in stock form compared to the older bike. So you guys had to do some work, I'm sure. We're talking about the airbox, we're going to discuss that, but how did you get some more low end for what Cade needed for Supercross?
Yeah, so we cut out the airbox completely, and then we have a 3D printed backfire screen, so it's screenless. And besides that, right now, that's where we're at for a little bit more bottom end. We have a head just to kind of free up the motor a little bit, and we run ETS fuel.
Okay.
But besides that, we're still
stock piston.
Developing. Yep.
And stock cams.
Stock cams.
So when we say a head, what is involved in head? Is it just port and polish? What are we doing inside there?
Yeah. So Williams Motorworks does our heads out of Wisconsin. I don't get too deep into it, so I could be wrong here. I want to say we dimple the valves and port polish the head. I know the 250s we degree the cam, I believe.
Okay.
Again, I could be wrong on this, but I know it's a port polish for sure.
Yeah, so not a lot done overall on this bike. So there's little bits and pieces, but for the most part, she's a stock motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys out there wondering, hey, all these guys on factory equipment, they have an advantage. I'm sure, yes, that's the case, but look at Cade Clason's been getting it done in the main events. He's been making them, and to be the top 22 riders in American Supercross is unbelievable. So, and we're basically taking a production motorcycle and he's making it happen. So any other little bits and pieces on here that they should know of? Obviously, sprocket change, you guys using W wheels?
Yeah, we're using W wheels. We are on DID chains this year, so that is big to me. I used to race myself, and I put a lot of emphasis on good chains, good sprockets. And
is it a ERT3 or are we pressed on?
No, we're ERT3,
okay.
Regular Masterlink. And we ran good chains last year. Just, to me, I feel DID's at the top, right?
Yes.
So at this level, safety is a big thing too, and I feel safe building a bike when we put a DID on it. Other than that, little stuff. Cade likes a lot of grip tape. We are in the lower hole on the foot pegs.
Okay.
We tried the higher hole. We tried some different mounts that Tim at TCD actually made us, and Cade just went lower hole and called it good.
Are we Cade 6'1", 6'2"?
About there, yeah.
Yeah.
He might be shrinking a little. He might be 6'1" now.
Okay. Going back to the suspension portion of this thing, so WP on a Kawasaki is obviously unique.
Yes.
Is there a reason why you guys are using WP and not the stock Showa stuff?
So we went WP. Tim knows it very well.
Yeah.
And it's something different, right? Like, we could be a small team and run Showa or KYB and kind of fit in with the factories, but we're trying to stand out.
Yeah.
And the WP forks work amazing, especially with Tim doing all the internals on them. They've been great to us, and I think that's probably one of the things I get asked about the most at the races is, why are we running WP? So it stands out, and overall, it's a good package. Yeah,
so I've had a little bit of experience with these guys, WP, putting it on Japanese bikes, and for me, it just has more of a dead feel. I don't know if Cade prefers more of a dead or a lively feel, but every time I put a WP setup, and I've been to a TCD setup before, and it just a little bit more performance, a little bit calmer versus a Showa. Showa's, if I'm comparing Showa to KYB, always Showa has a little bit more performance based, a little bit dead feel, but WP is even more so on the Showa side. So I think for these guys hitting jumps at fast speeds, high lows, that could be a good thing.
Oh yeah, and Cade doesn't like making changes a lot on race day or even when he gets a package at the practice track. So for us, one click here or one click there is a lot on the WP. It's very sensitive, and like you said, it has a dead feel, but for Supercross, that's what we're searching.
And also another unique situation for me on this bike is a Bill's pipe. You don't see many of those running around either, so.
No, we tested the Bills with our 250s in the off season, made a little bit more power. The 250 guys were happy. Cade's pretty easy as long as, like I said, as long as the bike's good, he doesn't care what brand, what it does. So we chose to go the Bills route, and they actually had to make us the pipes. We had to cut the stock headers.
Oh, really?
To get the flanges.
Okay.
So we have 2 headers right now, and they're working on getting the flanges, so we'll have more.
I'll be done.
But like I said, like you even said, this bike came in late.
Yeah.
So we're not behind. I'd say we're right on par with what's available for the bike. It's just behind compared to if we were to stay on the 23.
Now, Cade's not here to talk to us, but we're going to speak for him.
Yeah.
I've talked to him a little bit. He says he actually enjoys this chassis a little bit more than the older chassis. Has he conveyed anything else to you on this bike versus his older bike?
There's a lot more front end feel.
Okay.
He loves that.
Yeah.
This is probably the most excited I've seen Cade to ride, most exciting it is to watch. He trusts his front end a lot, which we lacked last year on the chassis side. So just overall, like day one we hopped on this, he loved it, didn't think it was slow. We rode a stock KTM all summer. So compared to stock to this, he's like, this thing's way faster and it has a lot more potential. So he's happy with it all around.
Max's tires?
Yes, Max's tires are new this year.
That they've made a big push here recently with some new tires that they've been coming out with. So obviously you're on the MX ST, is that correct?
SI is the soft,
okay.
And then they have an IH for the intermediate tracks.
So what are you guys using here in Anaheim?
Anaheim will probably go SI.
Okay.
Max's has been great. We have plenty of tires on the truck, and W has been awesome to us as well. We have plenty of spare wheels, so I give Cade all the options. We'll have a 110 SI, a 120 SI, and a 120 IH for tomorrow to try. If he wants to try them all, sometimes he just says, leave it, and I'll figure it out. Other times we try some stuff.
There you go. Last 2 things here to wrap this up. Seat bump. Is he picky on where this is? Have you guys had to move this around a little bit?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
When I started with him last year, I'd say we were probably about here.
So now you're between the 3rd and 4th rib.
Yep.
And you guys measure off of that?
We go from the front, yes.
Okay.
We measure from the front of the foam. I mean, like I said, we started here and it just keeps creeping forward. So one day we might be between 1 and 2.
Which is, for me, Cade's a taller guy. So you guys watching at home, if you haven't ridden with the seat bump, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I personally don't like them because I always seem to find I sit right on this thing and I always want to run it back farther, but then it defeats the purpose. So obviously, this is pushed forward compared for a 6'1" guy. That's pretty crazy.
We gave him some trouble for it for a while.
Yeah.
But I actually rode one of his seats this off season.
Yeah.
And to seat bounce things, you're in a perfect spot. And that's what he says.
A little bit more.
Now me, I ride once every 6 months. Like you said, I sit on that thing way more than I sit in the pocket of it.
Yeah.
But I can justify why he wants it there, because when he seat balances, he's not too far back off the rear, he's not over the front, and he knows he just locks right into that, and that's where he needs to be.
Last thing, so obviously you wanted to be in the industry, you're a mechanic. We all know mechanics are getting rich out there, they do it for the love of the sport. How did you get involved in doing this?
So when I was done racing in 21, I debated on going to Canada the following summer or training kids for the winter. I just kind of needed to recoup some money, and Julian had an ad up looking for a mechanic, and I love the sport. So I said, why not try it for the winter? If I don't like it, I can go back to a day job, and I haven't left since.
Okay.
So I love this.
You have a family,
I don't.
so you're single.
I'm single.
It helps to be single out there, guys.
It
Trust
does.
me.
It does.
You don't have a lot of time to do other stuff. If you got a guy like Cade working on his stuff all the time, not a lot of time to do other things. So it's nice to just do your own thing being single.
Absolutely. It makes life a little bit easier. It'd be nice when the time's right to have a family, obviously, but like you said, we travel all the time.
Yeah.
It's
a hectic schedule.
Yeah. I still technically have a house in Michigan, and I think I go there once a year for maybe a week.
All right, guys. Cade Clason's Partzilla PRMX Kawasaki.